Over the last 2 years, the United Sorghum Checkoff has put a lot of resources into sugarcane aphid management. We've funded numerous studies across the U.S. Looking at sugarcane aphid. Various research topics have been covered, and then we've also put together a lot of information just from an educational standpoint. This is going to be a series of seven videos where we're highlighting different topics for sugarcane aphid management. In this particular video, we're going to be covering insecticides, rates, and application recommendations. There's two products that we recommend and that are labeled for sugarcane aphid: Transform and Sivanto. Transform is a Dow product that's been labeled on a Section 18 label the last couple of years, and we do anticipate all the states will have that available to them this year also. The rates that are on that Transform label are 0.75 to 1.5 ounces, and we suggest that in most cases the 1 ounce rate is the way to go on that. It is important to note that Transform cannot be applied during the flowering stage of sorghum. So be sure and check that label for some of the specifics. Sivanto, which is a Bayer product, the labeled rate on that is 4 to 7 ounces. It's a federal label, so it can be used in any of the states. And the suggested rate on that in most situations is going to be 4 ounces per acre. Sivanto does tend to give you a longer residual than what Transform does, but both are very effective initially and are just good products to use, and the two products that we do recommend for sugarcane aphid control. The Sorghum Checkoff has sponsored numerous trials, really again across the country, looking at rates and the effectiveness of Transform and Sivanto and other products. This is a summary of numerous trials that have been done. And so if you look at the green line, that's the Sivanto treatment. That was at 4 ounces, and you can see from the data that we're getting, in this particular case, 15 days of good control of sugarcane aphid. Transform, which is the purple line, very good initial control, but the control began to taper off 10 days after treatment. In this particular slide, we're also showing you Lorsman. Now this is Lorsman at 32 ounces, and you can see that the effectiveness of the Lorsman just wasn't nearly as good. You do get good initial control, but then the aphid comes back much quicker than it does in the Transform or the Sivanto treatment. So we do not recommend Lorsman. As far as the rates to use, and again I commented that we tend to recommend the 1 ounce rate of Transform or the 4 ounce rate of Sivanto. Well, the reason for that is because of numerous trials that have been conducted. If you look at the Transform data, this is control 7 to 10 days after treatment. And if you look at the 1 ounce rate and then compare that to the 1.5 ounce rate, there was very little difference, only 3 percentage points difference in control. And that's the average of 12 trials. So we feel very good about recommending the 1 ounce Transform rate. With Sivanto, similar story. In this particular graph, we're showing 7 to 10 days after treatment and 13 to 15 days after treatment. But the 4 ounce rate is giving us just about as good a control as the 7 ounce rate. So for that reason, we do recommend the 4 ounce Sivanto rate in most cases. Another set of studies that we have funded has been looking at the effect of adjuvants or surfactants when used with Transform or Sivanto. This particular slide is data from the Transform trials, and this is an average of actually 4 trials. In the untreated in these trials, the mean average of sugarcane aphid on these upper leaves was 660. So really a high population of aphids. If you look at the data and look at where we applied the insecticide, all the treatments were giving us really good control, and those aphid numbers have been knocked down to below 90 per leaf. If you look at the blue bar, which is Transform at a 1/2 ounce, and that is a lower rate than we would normally recommend, but that was done on purpose so we could hopefully bring out some differences and show that the adjuvant or surfactant was helping us. Well, as it turned out, the adjuvant or surfactant did not really get any benefit from that. And if you look at the red bar there, that's crop oil, or the green bar, non-ionic surfactant. The purple bar is silicone surfactant, and then the light blue is a methylated seed oil. And the bottom line is the adjuvant or the surfactant just didn't add any to the control of Transform. Similar results were seen with Sivanto. The Sivanto was applied at 2 to 3 ounces. That's the blue bar. And then the crop oil, the non-ionic surfactant, the silicone surfactant, or the methylated seed oil just really couldn't improve upon that because the control was really so good just without using any adjuvant at all. So really our recommendation is to save a little bit of money and don't use a surfactant with Sivanto or Transform. Beneficial insects are very important in keeping population of sugarcane aphid under control. And for this reason, we don't recommend that you use a pyrethroid or even some of the other insecticides, some of your organophosphates and others that tend to be hard on that beneficial population, because we want to protect that beneficial population, because that will go a long way in just helping maintain the control of that sugarcane aphid. So in summary on when to apply an insecticide, treat as soon as that economic threshold is reached. We recommend you use either Sivanto Prime at 4 ounces or Transform at 1 ounce. These rates should be sufficient as long as you get good coverage. And we do recommend with a ground rig you're using at least 10 gallons of water, and we really would prefer you use 15 to 20 gallons of water. And then with an airplane, we would suggest you use 5 gallons of water. And I think if you do this and you're treating when you reach threshold, you should have good control. Adjuvants did not show to really improve the control of sugarcane aphid, and so we would suggest just leaving the adjuvant out and maybe saving a dollar or two from that expense. And then we also suggest not using a pyrethroid. It's tempting if you have other insects present to use a pyrethroid maybe to knock those insects out. But if you do that and you lower that beneficial insect population, then the sugarcane aphid population is going to increase very rapidly. And so we would suggest you avoid using pyrethroids and again some of those other insecticides that are hard on the beneficial population.